Invincible Season 3 Episode 2 begins with a flashback. A secret agent enters a clothing shop and threatens everyone to get out of the shop. He finds a secret passageway in the shop, and when he enters it, he discovered what he is looking for, a bomb. It has been planted there to kill millions of people. The shop owner reveals her identity to be a villain and a member of the Freeing Fist, and she is the one who planted the bomb there. She beats up the security agent and tells her aim is for the few of the people who survives the explosion will inherit a new world, and learn that life is a gift and not to be wasted. Luckily, the secret agent is able to take her down by shocking her, and just as he tries to deactivate the gas bomb, another member of the Freeing Fist stops him. His name is revealed to be Force Fist, and just as he is about to finish up the agent, the cops shows up. The villain gang suddenly decided to sacrifice their lives for the new world they want to build by opening the atomic gas to spread around the city, but the secret agent is able to close it back, but at the expense of injuring himself seriously. That security agent is revealed to be Cecil when he was young. The director of GD has spent millions to save Cecil's life but tells him he owes him for that. Even though he was able to close the gas tube, Cecil finds out from the director that some gas drifted to the market and killed everyone there before they could get it contained. Cecil blames himself for all those people's death, and promises himself never to make that same mistake again. The GD headquarters gets attacked by the Lizard League, but surprisingly, the Freeing Fist gang whom Cecil once fought against him defended them. The director explains that instead of leaving them in prison and wasting their talents, he decided to use their potentials for their course. Cecil disagrees with this because they are criminals are deserve to pay for their crimes in prison. Because of them a lot of people were killed by the gas. Out of anger, Cecil brings out his gun and kills them all, but this came with a cost. Cecil got arrested and he is taken inside a prison filled up with superhumans. Cecil is locked up in same cell with a gigantic blue monster, but the monster ends up paying its alliance to him as it calls him boss. The director of GDA, whose name is revealed to be Radcliffe, visits him in prison, and tells Cecil that he is stepping down as GDA director and moving over to a new project group. He tells Cecil that he wants him to replace him as the new GDA director. If he accepts the job, he will be freed from prison and his crimes will be erased. Back to the present, Cecil surrounded Mark with reanimans and tells him to get in line. He adds that Mark is using his ability to threaten people who disagree with him, and that is scaring the shit out of him. Just as Mark tries to get a little closer to Cecil, one of the reanimans stops him, making Mark to lose control of himself and started tearing them each to pieces. Cecil tried to tell Mark to stand down and let them talk these over, but Mark keeps killing and killing non-stop. Cecil sees the ruthlessness of Omni Man running through Mark's veins, and decided to stop holding back. He unleashes thousands of reanimans and tells Mark he will kill him if he doesn't stand down. Mark angrily tries to kill Cecil, but he presses a remote that affects Mark's brains. Cecil reveals that when Mark was in the hospital, he had implanted a device in his brain to restrain him, if he goes brutal like Omni Man. Mark flies out of the building and tries to move far away from Cecil and the remote, but Cecil uses his teleportation machine to track him. Mark quickly flies to the Guardian headquarters and asks Rudy to help him remove a device from his brain before Cecil finds him, but Cecil teleports to the place and tells all the heroes to step aside, because this particular issue concerns only Cecil and Mark. The Guardian could not bear seeing Mark writhe in pain, and this causes them to revolt and attack the reanimans, leading to yet another bloody battle. After a long struggle, Rudy the robot is able to help Mark deactivate the device in his head, making Mark to gain consciousness again. Mark kills all the reanimans and grabs Cecil on the neck, saying he will never work for him again and if he ever comes near his family again, he will kill him. All the Guardians are so shocked seeing Mark this brutal, and Mark leaves telling Rudy to get the device out of his head. Debbie is so angry with Cecil who had promised to protect their family. Eve states that they fight monsters every day, but doesn't think Cecil was one of them. Debbie feels Cecil has lost it. If he went this far, who knows what he will do next. Oliver protests on why didn't Mark kill Cecil when he had the chance, but he doesn't understand that murdering someone under any circumstances is wrong. Debbie and Mark make sure that Oliver realizes the gravity of taking a life, and although it's unclear if the little guy's brain registers what his family is teaching him. Debbie tells Oliver that Mark didn't get his powers until he was 17, and he got to be a normal kid first, so he deserves that too. Eve tells Mark on how she had known Cecil since she was 14, and is shocked on why Cecil would do something like this. Mark clears out to her that Cecil is scared of him, or what he could become. Mark tells Eve that even though things might be weird between them right now, it means everything to him that she's here with him. He also clears out that he didn't ask her out just because some future her told him to. But Eve replies that her anger is coming from how humiliating the whole thing is. The future her is almost 40 years old, and she's still heartbroken over something that never happened. Mark tells her it's a diversion of her and won't end up becoming that version. They go really deep into the relationship talk, as Mark talks about when he first joined high school and fell in love with her at first sight, but when he noticed she was dating Rex, he had to push those feelings down. But he lets her know that those feelings for her never went away. Eve tells him they both need to push the discussion for later, and think about it well, but assures that she will always have his back no matter what. While the Guardians cleans up the whole mess in the quarters, Ray is left wondering about a lot of things. Cecil spent millions to put her back together, then his dead monsters tried to rip them apart? Like what even are they to him? Monster Girl replies that Cecil is using them as his weapons. Black Samson admits that Cecil might have gone too far, but he believes Mark made him do it when he broke into the Pentagon, and started tearing things up. Immortal adds that Mark for once finally faced consequences. Cecil has always gone soft on him, just like his father. This leads to a big argument with the Guardians, as some of them were in support of what Cecil did, while some were in support of Mark. Those in support of Mark decided to quit from being the Guardian, because if Cecil could do what he did to Mark, who's to say he wouldn't do that to all of them? The following day, Mark goes to William and Rick to tell them all about Sinclair's relationship with Cecil, which understandably shocks Rick. Mark thinks he should have killed Sinclair when he had the chance, but Rick tells him that if he did that, then he would have become as evil as Sinclair, which is something that nobody wants. Debbie goes on a date later that evening, where she talks about how things has been really tough for her being a mother to Mark and Oliver. Her life has just been full of so many dramas, and this date seems weird to her, because she hasn't engaged in a relationship for long. Meanwhile, Eve attends her first class, where the lecturer teaches about architecture. Cecil shows up at the quarters and is disappointed that Rex, Rudy, Monster Girl, and Ray quit from being the Guardians. Just only Immortal, Black Samson, Martian Man, and Duplicate Girl that is left in the group. Cecil tells them that he has the reanimans on standby, in case they need backups, and suggests they should try outs for new members as soon as possible. He also called in Darkwing and asked them if they will be willing to give him a second chance to join them. Darkwing admits to the Guardians that he has made mistakes, but is trying to make up for them. If they accept him as part of the team, he will be honored to serve. Immortal accept him back, saying it's good to have Darkwing on their side again. Cecil goes back inside his lab, but is so worried about everything, especially the fact that he doesn't have Mark under his control anymore. Donald opens up to Cecil that allowing Darkwing to join the Guardians is not a good move at all, because he is actually a criminal who murdered a lot of people at Midnight City. Cecil tells Donald that people change. Bad guys reform, and good guys forget what they're fighting for. The scene takes us to another flashback, where Cecil accepts the job for being the director of DA. Just during his first day, a big situation arises. He sees an alien who appears to be Nolan fighting a gigantic creature. Cecil tells all his agents to get weapons ready in case the alien is hostile against them. Just as Nolan defeated the beast, Cecil arrives with a chopper and introduced himself, saying he runs teams of superheroes to protect the planet from whatever danger might arise. Nolan tells him that he is from the planet Viltrum. His government sent him here to Earth to help protect their people. Donald had checked Nolan's heart rate and tells Cecil that Nolan is lying. But since he said he wants to help, they should allow him. They already saw strong he is, and it will be stupid of them to try and restrain him, but tells his agents to track his every movements, and get the eggheads working on countermeasures. Later that night, Mark asked Eve to meet him at a bridge so they can talk. He tells her that when he was fighting Cecil and was being tortured by that device on his head, the only thing he could think about is her. About how if he died, he won't get to see her again. That's how he knows he loves her. Eve agrees to give the relationship a try, and kisses Mark, and that was how this episode ended. I will be posting the next episode soon. If you don't want to miss out, don't forget to subscribe for more. Next episode begins with two superhumans robbing a bank. The way they look at the children and how scared the people are, shows that it wasn't out of their will they were doing so, but they didn't really have a choice. When they got stopped by some superheroes, they decided to quit stealing and try to survive with good means. The two are revealed to be couples, but life turned out to be so unfair for them, because every single place they applied for work rejected them, some even insulted them. The worst part is their house rent has expired, and due to they had no money they were evicted out of the house. The two couples resulted to begging for money, but they got so tired of their lifestyle and they decided to try rob a bank again. They were able to steal some money, but they weren't able to successfully take the money as Mark shows up to stop them. Just as the superhuman couple gave Mark a little hard time, Oliver shows up and punches one of them in motive to assist Mark. Mark is so angry with Oliver for coming here, and Oliver also broke his promise of using his powers. He carries Oliver away from the scene and take him home. Debbie tells Oliver to go to his room while she will discuss with Mark on what he has done. Mark tells Debbie that asking Oliver not to use his powers is not realistic, But Debbie replies that he is so young and just wants him to have a normal childhood. Mark assures that he will be very careful with Oliver, he won't let him get hurt and won't let him hurt anyone else. Just as Eve returns from her engineering class for the day, Amber meets her and they both decided to get lunch together and discuss. Eve updates her on everything that has been happening, and just as she is about to tell her that Mark and her are already dating, Amber reveals she already knows, as Williams told her yesterday, and she's in support of their relationship because Mark and her world are the same. Rex, Ray, Rudy, and Monster Girl discovers a new headquarters once again. It is at Rex's house where they decided to form a superhero league amongst themselves, to fight crimes. But as for Eve, she plans to move in back with her parents. They have some disagreement, so she needs to fix things between them. On the other hand, Mark teaches Oliver on how to fly. After that, Art designs a perfect costume for him, but made Oliver promise never to use his powers in public without permission. Oliver decided to give himself a superhero name called Kid Omni Man, but Mark doesn't see it as a good idea for him to use that name, because people are going to hear the name or see the symbol and think of Omni Man. Omni Man did terrible things here on Earth, things people are not going to forget anytime soon. Since Mark doesn't work with Cecil anymore, he decided to go for a fresh start by firstly changing his costume. Mark and Oliver suddenly hears a news on the radio concerning an attack happening now at Peyton Penitentiary, and early reports indicates that superpowered individuals are involved. Mark agrees to let Oliver come with him after he promises he won't fight but just watch. The superpowered people causing the chaos is Kursk and Furnace. One has electricity powers, and the other one can shoot lava out of his body. Oliver disobeys Mark and goes to fight the superhumans, but they restrained him. Mark gets so angry and fights them and defeated them in minutes. He scolds Oliver for disobeying him and threatens that if he doesn't listen to him again, he won't take him along next time. On the other hand, Debbie decided to tell Paul the truth about her. She doesn't want to lie to him just like Nolan did. Paul got to know about what Nolan did, and how Mark and his brother Oliver have superpowers. Paul decided to leave the relationship as he doesn't feel worthy of dating her, but Debbie tells him he is more than a lot to her. Meanwhile, Eve returns back to her parents' house to try and mend her relationship with them. She tells her father that if he can accept that she got powers, she will also accept that he doesn't want her to use them in the house. But that doesn't mean she's going to stop using them to help people. She opens up that she wants them to have a relationship because she loves them, but they have to accept her for who she is. But if they don't accept her, she will never see them again because she's tired of feeling like a freak and a failure every time she comes home, and she don't deserve it. Her dad decided to accept her and goes to take a beer. Mark and Oliver returns home only to see Paul and Debbie kissing. Paul explained in a weird way that he is dating their mother, and Mark realizes he knows their secret as superheroes, but Paul assures them that he knows how to keep a secret. At the base where the US military guard a secret gigantic missile, the Mauler twins attack the base and kills the soldiers. In matter of minutes, the Guardians shows up. The Mauler twins had figured out that one weakness the Guardians have in common is their nervous system. That's why he made an electric gun that takes each of them down with one shock. Mark shows up to try and stop them. Oliver looks for Mark in the house, who is supposed to take him for another training, but he sees Mark on the TV fighting with the Mauler twins and goes to help out, disobeying Debbie. Mark is knocked to the ground with the electric gun, and as they tried to finish him up, Oliver shows up at the scene and destroys the gun. A fight begins, but Mark was more focused on telling Oliver to go home, but he doesn't listen. The Mauler twins releases a missile with the intent of destroying the world. Mark decided to go after the missile to stop it, and tells Oliver to go home. One of Mauler twins tries to confront Oliver thinking he's just an ordinary kid, but Oliver breaks his jaw just with a punch. He killed one of them by punching right through his stomach, and just as the other one begs that he surrenders, Oliver tells him it's already too late for that, and kills him too. The Guardians are so shocked seeing the kid do all of that. Cecil also shows up and Oliver tells him he didn't mean to kill them, but just wanted to help the Guardians. Mark shows up and grabs Cecil on the neck because he told him to stay away from his family, only for Cecil to tell him he's just here to clean up the mess his brother made. Mark is shocked realizing it was Oliver who killed the Mauler twins. Mark takes him to the sky and yells at Oliver for what he did, as their rule is they don't kill people. Oliver cries telling Mark to stop yelling at him for trying to help. Mark and Oliver argue as Oliver doesn't see it as being wrong to kill bad guys, because he believes it's responsible to make sure the bad guys never hurt anyone else. Mark tries to make Oliver understand that life is precious, he shouldn't just take it, but Oliver replies that it's not precious because people kill each other every day. Mark is shocked because Oliver is beginning to sound like Omni Man. Later that night, Debbie goes to have a talk with Oliver and he apologized for what he did, and promises never to do that again. Mark sees a camera spying on them and tries to destroy it, but it explodes. That was how this episode ended. If you don't want to miss out on the next episode next week, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.